This is a GameCube controller. Developed 20 years ago for the Nintendo GameCube, it is still the weapon of choice for many serious gamers around the world, especially those who play platform fighters. Today, the only GameCube controllers available are ones that have new, inferior parts. So players have to hunt down and get lucky to find a GameCube controller that has all the right parts and that feels good to them, often paying more than $200 or $300 for the best ones. Other controllers like the DualShock or the Xbox controller have been updated and revised over the years. Tragically, this one has never had a modern revision, until today. This is the Panda Controller. Using the GameCube controller as a base, we set out to take it to the next level, to evolve it and modernize it. We had input from pro players, modders, and casual players alike to make what we believe is the ultimate controller no matter what level of play you're at. And with 4 patents pending, we definitely set a new standard for competitive gaming. Now I'll break down the controller features for you. There are some advanced features that I'm not going to get into here, but check out the technical video breakdown below or the FAQ for more information. The controls across the board were made for top-level play. We took the best sticks that were ever made and figured out how to make them even better. We made our own stick, and this is the most accurate and durable stick that you'll be able to find in the market today. We enlarged and remade the D-pad with tactile switches. Smooth face buttons allow you to move from one button to the next seamlessly and faster than ever before. On to the shoulder buttons. As you can see, the controller has 4 shoulder buttons like modern controllers. The Z buttons were also remade for a much smoother feel. We're also introducing 2 new buttons. The removable back buttons were placed in a position that's natural for your hands, and they're mapped to X and Y. This isn't a wireless controller by default, but you can unplug the wire for easier storage. It comes with 2 different wires, one at the USB end and one at the GameCube end. There's also a unique optional locking mechanism, so you never have to worry about your controller unplugging until you want it to. The next feature is this. This is the expansion pack. Yes, that's right, we brought it back. This is the weight pack. If we hit our first stretch goal, we'll be able to include this on every controller that allows you to customize the weight to make it as heavy or as light as you like. Sold separately will be the wireless pack. This pack will allow you to connect to the Switch or the PC. You may have noticed that the shoulders have a little lip on them. That's because using this little dial, you can actually control how high or how low you want your shoulder button, as high as a stock controller and as low as a single button press. The way you turn the dial is with this tool. This tool is all you need to take apart this entire controller. Speaking of taking the controller apart, you may notice there are no screw holes on this whole thing. Well, that's because the shells are magnetically attached. You'll be able to very easily and quickly customize the face of your controller. Now, there are a lot of advanced features on the inside of the controller that I'm not going to get into, but this here we call the button mask. If you remove it, you can customize the buttons very easily. Now, it isn't just the front shell that can be removed. You can also remove the back shell. And when you do, there are a lot of cool customization features that are available to you. And when you put the shell back on, it doesn't have to be the same shape. This is a regular Panda Controller GameCube shell. This is the Panda Controller Pro shell. Changing the shape of the grip allows for more wide grips and much more comfortable grips for a lot of players, and is based off of the Pro controller. And changing the shape of your controller is as easy as snapping on the front and snapping on the back. Another cool feature about this controller is that it's future-proof. We actually have firmware with a memory chip on the controller, so we can update it whenever we want. We want to make a controller that isn't elite or pro just in name. We want our actual pros, like the ones on our roster, to use it. And we want a controller that bolsters the amazing modern artist community that has grown around the GameCube controller. We want to make a controller for everyone.
Hey guys, I'm Matt. I'm the president and lead engineer of Panda Hardware. There are a lot of little details in this controller that we haven't gotten a chance to explain yet. I'm really excited to show them off for you. We reverse engineered the T3 stick box, which is what many modders think is one of the best stick boxes out there. On top of redesigning it, we modernized features to make it our own, including adding a tactile click. The Panda stick box will be compatible with all T3 motherboards as well as our own controller. It will also be available for purchase separately from the controller. In addition to enlarging the D-pad and adding tactile switches, we've made it so it's much easier to make circular motions by putting the center on a pivot. The smooth buttons, also known as bald buttons, were a recommendation to us from modders, allowing people to get the fastest movement between button presses as possible. For our ZL and ZR buttons, we've redesigned them so that they have rubber pads, so for a more comfortable feel when you press it. Additionally, in GameCube mode, both of them are matched to the Z button. When you plug in via USB, it's detected as a Pro controller, so ZL is ZL and ZR is ZR. The back buttons, by default, are mapped to X and Y. If you'd like to, you can remove the two buttons, and in their place, you can put in two plugs that come with the controller. Now, let's get to customization features. We've decided to bring back the expansion pack, and with that, our first expansion pack will be a weight pack, allowing you to change the weight of the controller to your desire. Down the line, we're planning on adding other expansion packs, the first of which may be an audio pack. Included under the expansion pack bay is an M3 Allen wrench. This is the only tool you need to take the controller completely apart. It's magnetically held in place, and it doesn't only take apart the controller, it can also be used to adjust your triggers as well as to change the trigger modes on the dials on the inside. You can customize the height of your trigger with 16 different settings using that Allen wrench. Now, once your height is changed, you'll need to calibrate your controller so that you can still hit every single analog value. To do that, we've added a calibration button right here. This calibration button is also used for the sticks. If you have a different gate or you remove and change your gate, you can calibrate your stick for alignment and to allow you to have 1.0 cardinal inputs. Speaking of gates, these gates aren't part of the front shell. They've been made separately so that if notchers want to notch a gate, they can be removed easily and that you don't have to sacrifice a whole shell in prototyping a notch. Let's talk about other features on the inside of the controller. You'll notice there are some other screws other than the ones that hold in the gates. These three screws are used to remove the button mask. This button mask holds in the ABXY, home, plus, minus, and capture buttons. If you remove the mask, you can take the buttons out and easily swap them. You'll also notice that there are two buttons down on the handles. One is for dampening the snapback in the X direction on your left stick. The other is for the Y. The way that we're dampening snapback is by emulating a capacitor, which is what people typically do for a snapback mod. When we press the button, we'll have multiple LEDs that light up, allowing you to select different amount of capacitance that is being sent through your stick. Actually, that capacitor goes to your potentiometer. Speaking of potentiometers, ours are made by Noble. Now, let's get to the features on the back. First, you'll notice that there are three large sections up here in green. Those are all removable. The first is a cover for the motor. You can easily pop out your rumble motor now without cutting the wire. This bracket holds it in. The two green sections on the sides are trigger mounting plates. You can easily access our adjustable trigger mechanism from here. As I said before, the back buttons are removable. With the back shell off, you can simply pop them out or pop them back in. Some players told us that they accidentally hit the D-pad while they're moving the stick occasionally. Because of that, we added a D-pad on-off switch so you don't accidentally taunt. If you like the weight of the motor, but you don't like the rumble feature, you can also turn it off with our rumble on-off button. There are also two dials in the handles. These allow you to control each of your triggers individually. They allow you to switch it between analog and digital, just analog, or just digital. This will allow you to have hard shield and light shield on 2 different triggers, or whatever combination you want. Besides just having a GameCube style shell, we decided to add a different style as well, which we call our Pro Shell. It holds your wrists in a much more comfortable position, which will allow you to play for a lot longer. Now, it's not just limited to these 2 shapes. As long as it fits with our magnetic harness system, any shape is possible. We don't want to just throw this controller out into the wild and not support it. So we've made it so you can download firmware updates on your own. This gives us the ability to add things down the line that the community might want, like POD emulation, button remapping, and notch calibration. We're not planning on implementing these features at launch. We want to make sure that everything we add to this is tournament legal.